What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat Podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at PrizePicks. It's Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth, fresh off another New England Patriots victory. This one coming over the Atlanta Falcons, 24-23, 6 in a row, 7-2. But Barth, as you can see by the 1-point score there, it was not a blowout that they've had these past couple of weeks. It was a much closer game, a lot more to clean up. But as Mike Vrabel said after the game, they're going to learn from winning rather than learn from losing. And I think it's probably a good thing that they prove that they can maybe survive one of these games at this point in the year.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say like they were reading their own press clippings or anything. I don't think it's quite that far, but I do think there's an element of this team need a little bit of a reality checkup. And as Mike Vrabel said after the game, it's a funny league. You'd rather learn by winning than learn by losing. And they were playing at an incredibly high level. It's not to say they're not a great team, but like even great teams have some games where they have setbacks. They were kind of due. They got it. They're going to come away with a ton of teachable moments in this game. They'll obviously have to make the adjustments to really make the most of it. But the fact you got as many teachable moments as you did in a win, you know, if they go on and make a second half run here, I think this is a game we go back and look at as like, okay, they needed that reset.
And you could kind of feel that with them too, like even in the locker room after the game. And they were, happy because they won a game. And, Vrabel says that all the time, like you have to appreciate this because it is hard to win in this league. So they were happy, but it wasn't maybe as excited as they've been after some of these blowouts. So I think they know that wasn't their best football and there was a lot to clean up. I'm sure Vrabel, he will enjoy it. Doesn't, he obviously wants them playing their best football, but lots of coaching points for him and his staff to look forward to and correct moving forward this week. And Drake even said that as well. One of the first things he said at the podium was, this football team needs me to play better. And going to Drake here, I thought probably his worst game. He's been on this heater, probably his worst game since the opener. He was really sharp to start. I had a 9 of 13 for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns out of the gate. And then he has that strip sack and things kind of fall apart. He went 10 for 16, 102 yards and an interception after his yards per attempt cut in half. So it really felt, again, like that opener. He has that interception and kind of falls off in the second half. And I think he kind of saw that from Drake patting the ball, a little more hesitant yesterday. Took a lot of sacks, again, which we'll certainly get into, but still did enough, to get a win against a tough Falcons defense.
Yeah, it just enough to get it done. And there's things like they can't play that way against Tampa next week and win, right? Like they're just, Tampa's a much better team. I think the Falcons are a better team. Like that represented a step up from the Titans, Browns, and Saints. And I think I don't know that you got the Falcons A+ game, but I think you actually got a relatively good game from the Falcons. They made a few mistakes. Their problem was those mistakes came in major moments. But I thought for the most part, they've played much worse games this year. And the Patriots did not play their best game and they still hung on. So in this game that worked, but that's not going to be the case every week.
So where are you at with all the sacks? 'Cause 6 sacks again yesterday. That's back-to-back weeks with 6 sacks. And now, last week was Myles Garrett, right? Who's just a freak. This week is against the Falcons, who they blitz a lot. They entered the week leading the league in blitz rate, just under 50% of the time. And I think they ended this game blitzing Maye like high 50s, low 60%. So they were coming after him, right? A lot of these 5-man fronts. But 6 sacks for the second straight week. Drake is now the most sacked quarterback in the league. And there is that qualifier. Some of those have come with him, running out of bounds. But he's getting sacked a lot. And I think he's to blame for some of these. He's had open receivers. Like the first sack, he's got Stephon Diggs wide open. Second one, he has Austin Hooper wide open and just kind of hesitant. So there's some blame for Drake there. But where are you at with the line and just that part of this Patriots offense in general that he is getting sacked so much?
I mean, when you're sacked that many times, it's not any one thing. Now, the pressure rate's down from where it was last year. So this is going to sound like I'm excusing the line. I'm not. I'm just trying to add some context. They've also faced the last 2 weeks. I mean, the Falcons have the best pass rush in football by most major metrics. They're not up there in sacks, oddly enough, but in a lot of other regards, they have the best, if not one of the best pass rushes in football. And obviously, the Browns have the best pass rusher in football, Myles Garrett. So they faced some tough tests here the last couple weeks. They've failed. I thought they were okay beyond that. I think that sack number 2, as the turnover number has gone down for Drake Maye, the sack number's gone up. And how many times did we say last year, even at the start of this year, sometimes you just got to take the sack. You look at the play at the end of the half. He did that last year. I don't remember what team was against, but there was some play where they were in it. I think it was right around halftime too. And he is a defender. He tries to stiff arm the defender off of him. It was like the exact same thing, kind of rolling to his right. He had drifted back in the pocket, and he tried to stiff arm the defender off him, and the ball popped out. That's a play where, one, the offensive line gets beat. Michael Onwenu loses on a line game. They've had a lot of trouble with line games, which you expect from a young group, but they're not young on the right side. He loses a line game. Drake's dead to rights. You got to take the sack there. So some of these sacks, there were a couple in the Steelers game that I think fall into this category. Some of the sacks are better than the alternative. So some of them are on him, but they're also not on him, if that makes sense. Like, he should have taken a sack on that play. And we would have looked at it and said, like, all right, well, he's mobile and he just went down. But that's what the situation called for when the line got beat that bad. So I still feel like the line's playing better than last year. It's still not great.
It's definitely better than last year. Definitely better than last year.
Might be talking about, frankly, we might, they're going to need at least one starting guard in the offseason. Michael Onwenu, the last couple of weeks, I've said, like, yeah, I had a couple of rough games. I'm not willing to say he's had a bad year. I think it's become enough now where I am a little worried about where he's at.
Yesterday was bad, yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things they need to clean up. I do wonder, though, if the sack number specifically, like, he's getting pressured too much, Drake, he's getting hit too much. But I do wonder if the sack number specifically is a little bit of a product of Drake Maye trying to be a better decision maker, not putting the ball at risk. And, there's a fine line. You don't want to be too reckless that you're putting the ball at risk when you don't need to. But you also don't want to be the quarterback that just turtles and falls for the sack anytime there's a defender remotely near you. And I don't think Drake's there. I don't. He's definitely not. But he's a young quarterback trying to hone his game. He's got to kind of find that line. And I think he was a little more on the conservative side, and he started getting a little more on the aggressive side. Now he fumbles twice in the game, and probably see him go a little back more to the conservative side. And with that, sacks might go up and right and back and forth. And although the strip sack, I guess, is technically still they get a sack on that play. So, but yeah, the point being, I think that there's a lot. If you want to break down the pressure rate on Drake Maye and the high number of sacks and all that, I don't think it's as easy to say, well, Michael Onwenu hasn't been good. Well, Will Campbell hasn't been good. Well, Drake Maye's not holding the ball. Well, they're not calling the right plays. Well, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just a little bit of everything. There's a ton of context that goes into that number. That's not to excuse any of it. If anything, I'm passing the blame around. But I don't think it's as simple as, well, the line sucks, he's getting sacked a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And again, that number is probably a little inflated because, he's taking like 0-yard sacks when he's running out of bounds. And,
right.
Someone points out in the chat too, he's running into his own lineman. Like, that was a Falcons thing, because they bring a lot of those 5-man pressures and 5-man fronts. Like, there's not a lot of running lanes. And you saw that a lot yesterday. Like, when he tried to take off, there's just nowhere to go. So they were able to bring him down for a lot of sacks. So that number is high. Obviously, that's not ideal if you're putting yourself kind of behind the chains and behind the sticks against some of these aggressive defenses. Like next week, Tampa, Todd Bowles is going to heat you up and come with all sorts of these different looks. So that number's not great, but I think it's a little inflated, and it's a lot of things that are going into that, as you said. So, but definitely, Michael Onwenu, I think he could be better. I think you're still seeing Bradbury, Jared Wilson. Those are two undersized guys, struggle with power at times. Yeah. And Wilson, Campbell are going to have some rookie moments. So maybe it's starting to just falter a little bit there, but still definitely better than last year. You're not seeing a lot of, free rushers. I think there was only one yesterday, and that's because, they blitzed 6 or 7 guys, 6, 7. It comes up every show now at this point. So there we go. But
you see the tweet from Mike Reese today? Mike Reese nailed the 6-7.
Nailed it. With the hands too.
I know. That's why Mike Reese is the GOAT right there.
That's why.
Finger on the pulse all the time.
He's the absolute best. Mike Reese is there. But all right, that's the line. They did get the run game going still a little bit, even down Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson, Nice to see him in kind of that feature role, 75% of the snaps, got 18 total touches, I believe, or was it 18? Yeah, 18 total touches. So some trust in him. And then Terrell Jennings, first career touchdown, cool moment for him as well. Definitely some success in between the tackles. Credit to Jack Westover, had a couple nice blocks. Khyiris Tonga, we got a little fullback lead, Khyiris Tonga, which was a fun wrinkle. But good to see Henderson especially involved, down Stevenson, that they trusted him in kind of a feature role there.
I mean, they didn't really have a choice, but
yeah, honestly.
They gave Terrell Jennings the ball in some big spots too. And
at the end of the game, he had the ball.
Yeah, I think that's telling. So they're sticking to that, I don't know, it was truly early down, passing down, but that kind of speed back, power back dynamic. And even on the 3rd and 1 early in the game with the Tonga play, that was Terrell Jennings. Like, I'm in the press box and I'm thinking, all right, here we go, 3rd down. And to be fair, I somehow missed the down and distance. I thought it was like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, not 3rd and 1. Because on the far end of the field, but I'm like, all right, passing down situation. Let's see, like, TreVeyon Henderson, pass pro. And they run Terrell Jennings on. I'm like, wow, do they trust Terrell Jennings more as a pass blocker than TreVeyon Henderson? And then obviously they run Tonga on, and I'm like, hey, what's the distance to go? What are they doing? And I kind of figured it out. So they clearly trust both of them. It was good to see TreVeyon Henderson get going a little bit more because they are going to need him. Even when Ramondre Stevenson comes back, they are going to need him. I know people are annoyed. I saw some people, look, the fantasy football people, I'm sorry, the Patriots fans who know ball, this is not about you. I've seen a lot of people kind of correctly figure out what's going on with TreVeyon Henderson. The fantasy football people, I'm sorry, calm the hell down. He's not getting 50 touches a game. You guys need to shut up. It's just that's not how this works. It's not how it was ever going to work. We know how Josh McDaniels runs his offense. It's the modern NFL. You don't get 30 touch a game running backs. Anybody who thought that's what we were talking about in training camp was mistaken. Like you said, Henderson had 18 touches. That's probably where he's going to live, is 15 to 20 a game. Maybe I thought he might go over 20 in this one, depending on how much they trust Jennings. That's about where he's going to be. Anything more than that, and he stops being effective. It's been proven over multiple years at Ohio State. There's nothing against him. There's a lot of backs in the league like that, especially as physical as the league is now. So I thought that was about the right usage for Henderson. The question was, were they going to overwork him because they didn't trust the other backs, and they clearly trusted Jennings a little bit, which I thought was more than a little bit, frankly, the way they used him at the end of the game. That doesn't mean they don't like Henderson. I think they are very disciplined in what they want TreVeyon Henderson's role to be, which is a good thing. He struggled early. That definitely cut into the snaps further. He's playing better now. His role is going to be bigger. He's never going to be a volume back. That is just never, even when Stevenson is out, even if he is still like the starting running back, right, and the number one running back on the team, the best back on the team, he's never going to be a bell cow back. That's just not who he is. So I think a lot of Patriots fans, credit to them, have figured it out. Good for you. The people who keep bitching about fantasy, I drafted TreVeyon Henderson and they won't, like, this is what it is. And they're trying to win football games, not trying to help your fantasy team.
And look, I feel like we all hyped him like on the beat. Like, he had an awesome summer and he deserved a lot of the hype, and we gave him a lot of hype this summer. But you clearly saw once it transitioned to the regular season, like, the game was moving very fast for him. He was at the bottom of a lot of, missed tackle force, like rushing yards over expected. Like, he wasn't seeing the field very well. So it made sense that they kind of, brought that role back in for him and leaned on Mondre, who, was good in pass protection, even though he was having some fumble issues. So that's where, the fantasy football community, like, why does Mike Vrabel hate him? Like, he just wasn't playing good football early in the year, and you had some other guys who were, even though, again, the ball security issues. But it was good to see them, trust him in that role. I do agree that's probably where you want him to live, in that 15, 20 touch range moving forward. It was good that they, got him some passes out in space. He started early with a, 19-yard downfield screen. I feel like the vision and some of the reads on the ground are improving as well. So you're starting to see him, come alive a little bit here, I think. And, if you get Mondre back, hopefully they can mix and match, and maybe he can become a big player for you down the stretch there. But another player who's really finding his role here on the offense is Pop Douglas, another game where they're getting him going downfield more, 100 yards, which was a career high for him. First touchdown of the game, which was a great design by Josh McDaniels to get him in the backfield and lined up against a linebacker. Now, Jalen Walker is a pretty athletic linebacker. We talked about him in the draft a lot, but still, that's a good matchup.
He's a linebacker.
Yeah, he's a good matchup for Pop Douglas. So I was doing some of the math before we got on here. Pop Douglas's average depth of target now is 10.2 yards on PFF, which is over 2 yards higher than his career high, and it's right around a lot. His career ADOT at Liberty in college was 11 yards. So they are using him more like he was at Liberty, and you're seeing these big plays being generated because of that downfield. That average depth of target from weeks 1 through 5 was 4.3 yards. In the last 4 weeks, it's been 15.5 yards. So, Barth, they're getting him downfield, and they're getting some explosive big plays out of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying all summer. He's not in the Edelman role. He's got to be a downfield guy, a guy you use his speed vertically, and they're starting to do that. And look what's happening. He was never going to be a volume player. I think what was it last week? Like 3 catches for 70-something yards, or the week before, whatever it was, like 3 for 70, 4 for 100. Like that. This is the kind of player that I think he is. He's not a feature wide receiver. He's a situational guy, 3rd downs, 2-minute drill that you're going to use to stretch the field vertically. And he's thriving in that role. And his ability after the catch, even though he makes it look ugly at times, is apparent. It's weird. He's the reverse Cordero Patterson. So there was this weird thing with Cordero Patterson where he would be really great. Like he'd like stumble through his routes. But then once he got the ball in his hands, he was like, ballerina feet, incredibly nimble and can make anybody miss. Pop Douglas is kind of doing the opposite. I don't know what that is, but he's still making guys miss, even though he's stumbling. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they think that he's going to fall down, so they kind of let up, and then he gets by them. But I love Pop Douglas in this role. They've needed the speed on offense. They've needed a guy who can create after the catch, as ungraceful as it looks at times.
Makes it work.
This is it. Like, this is what I've been wanting Pop Douglas to be for the last couple of years. You guys know I've been a fan of his. I've defended him even when he's had some rough games. After going back through a number of wide receivers, how nice is it, Brian? When's the last time we really got to talk about, hey, this wide receiver who we see a ton of potential with is in the right role? Usually when we have Patriots, I mean, how long did I bitch about them not using Kendrick Bourne right? Or, you even want to go and there were other reasons it maybe wasn't going to work out. We questioned Tyquan Thornton's usage and Juju Smith-Schuster's usage, and they got a wide receiver and and by the way, Kayshon Boutte they're using right too. They've tweaked his usage, so he should be a part of this conversation. But I think they figured out what Pop Douglas brings to the football team. They figured out what he doesn't, and they're using him. This is what Josh McDaniels does. You don't need to be great at every little thing. But if you're really great at one thing, he's going to find ways to maximize that one thing without putting you in bad spots. And Pop Douglas, people talked about him as being a great fit for the McDaniels offense. I think some people talked about him in that sense for the Edelman role, which wasn't the case. But in the case that Josh McDaniels can take a player who's maybe not well-rounded, but is really good at a couple of things and turn that player into a difference maker, that's what he's doing with Pop Douglas right now. He's done it with a lot of players in the past. He's doing it with Pop Douglas right now, and it's super cool to see.
It's absolutely working. I also wrote down his PFF grades, like the game-by-game average. So week 1 through 5, when his ADOT is around 4, 52.6 was his PFF grade. The last month, when his ADOT's been up to 15.5, 85.7. So again, we take PFF grades with a grain of salt here, but you can see.
Yeah, I'm kind of insulted you even said them, but again, it's like.
It just, I think it highlights how good he's been in that role. And he probably could have been even better yesterday. Like, they took 2 other shots to him downfield. One, the ball kind of hung up there early near the end zone. And then one, I think he might have leveled it off more. And Drake thought he was going to go downfield, take that angle. So he's been getting open, and he could even have a bigger game. But still, if they can just hit, one of these explosives or 1 or 2 of these explosives a game, that makes such a huge difference for that offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Elsewhere, just with the pass catchers, Hunter Henry, who has been kind of quiet the past couple of weeks, I thought he was awesome. I know he had the miscommunication with the interception, but converted a couple 3rd downs, and then, of course, put the game on ice the last play. The Stephon Diggs touchdown was great. And he also had like a great connection on one of Drake's best throws of the game, down like kind of the right sideline on a sail route for 20 yards. But the one thing I did want to talk about, and Gabe teed us up here in the chat, it's time to talk about Kyle Williams. Now, Kayshon Boutte goes out with a hamstring injury in the second quarter. Mike Vrabel said this morning he is day-to-day. Doesn't sound like he will practice early this week, but we'll see where he's at later in this week. So Kyle Williams thrusted into this larger role, 31 snaps, 0 catches on 1 target, which was a miscommunication that looked like his fault from Drake Maye, the 1 target incompletion. So where are you at with Kyle Williams now that we kind of saw him in this elevated role and there wasn't much production to come with it?
I mean, they were kind of struggling to throw the ball as a whole. I don't look at it and say Kyle Williams played poorly. That being said, he didn't play great. I think he's still an unknown. Like, I just think this is a rookie that really hasn't played a lot. Clearly, him and Drake Maye need to work a little more to get on the same page. It sounds like they'll have some time to do that this week in practice. Mike Vrabel said that Boutte's day-to-day, so essentially didn't rule him out for the game, but said he won't practice to start the week. So those guys need to get on the same page. We talked about this a lot in the summer with him and Efton Chisholm. If you want those guys to play a role, they got to get FaceTime with the quarterback in these practices. Kyle Williams got a little bit. Like, Efton Chisholm didn't get any. Kyle Williams got a little bit, but it was definitely a step back from the guys the 4 guys they've been rotating through, the veterans. So I'm not like writing Kyle Williams off yet, but I'm also not sitting here saying it's going to be fine. He'll step in for Boutte and be good. Like, I don't know. We just really haven't seen it one way or the other. He hasn't made his way into the rotation. So I'd rather find out for sure than panic and ditch him and blow another top 100 pick on a receiver. I know they're 7-2, and this isn't a season you can punt on, but I also think, like, I see people in the chat giving up like a top 50 pick for a receiver. I think it's a little short-sighted. Like, at a certain point, this is part of what their problem has been with their draft picks, is not just that they're picking the wrong players. It's been a development issue, and part of development is getting guys on the field. And it might not go great when you do, but you need to give them time to work through it. You look at Kayshon Boutte, right? Last year was not good. They kept putting him on the field. He figured it out. So I'm excited to see what Kyle Williams can do. I don't really know what to expect. I mean, we know what his game is, right? A lot of speed after the catch. Hands are a little bit shaky. That's probably the big question mark. As far as the chemistry between him and Maye, that obviously has to improve. That they're going to have time to work on that this week, like I said. But they had to give this guy a look eventually. You don't root for an injury, and Kayshon Boutte was playing well, and they definitely take a hit losing him. But you draft the kid in the top 100, you're expecting a year 1 impact. We talk about this during the draft. There's like day 1 impact guys, year 1 impact guys, and then project players. Kyle Williams, like anybody you pick in the top 100, first round should be a day 1 impact guy. Once you start getting out of the top 50, like those few picks in the top few picks in the second round, some of this depends on position. Now you get a year 1 impact guys. It's November. As Bill Belichick used to say, there's no rookies once you get to, was it Thanksgiving? I forget. He used some date. I don't remember if it was start of November or Thanksgiving.
If it was Halloween or Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was one of those. But the point is, we're getting there.
We're
right. Like, there's no rookies. You've been in the league long enough at this point. You should expect that guy to contribute. Doesn't mean he has to go for 150 yards, but you should expect that guy to at least hold down the fort. Kayshon Boutte is going to miss a little time. So we'll see if he does. I think a week of practice will help. I don't think we'll look as discombobulated as it's looked, but again, I don't think he's going to be a star either. I'm not expecting 150 yards from him again, but you're up, kid. Like, it's kind of just that simple. You get picked that high in the draft, you're up. Let's see it. The team invested a serious asset in this guy. Let's see if he can prove him right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly, leaving the stadium yesterday, like, because he plays more. He has 1 target and he kind of messes it up, right? It looked like he ran a 5-step slant instead of a 3-step slant. Like, I was a little disappointed. I felt honestly a little better about his performance, watching it back today. Like, I did think there were some moments that he was open. And he went against AJ Terrell a lot, who they kind of avoided and is a really good corner. So definitely not out on Kyle Williams. I do think, just the chemistry with Drake isn't there, and probably missing time in the kind of the end of the preseason, right? He had that head injury in Minnesota. That probably didn't help. And now in the regular season, like he's spending time on the scout team. He's not a full-time practice player with the ones. So that chemistry definitely needs to build. So hopefully you can look at the kind of the positive side of Booty going down and saying, if you can build that chemistry with these guys, then maybe there's a second half kind of push that you can unlock Kyle Williams a little bit. And now he can be more of a player for this offense and unlock that deep speed and things like that. And also, someone in the chat said, does McDaniels need to dumb down the offense specifically for the rookies, i.e. simplify things for Kyle Williams? Vrabel kind of talked about this today. And, when you're the fourth or fifth receiver on the depth chart, like you have to fill in multiple spots. But now I think he's just kind of a one-for-one plug-in for Booty. So Vrabel mentioned he kind of settled down. So I think that could also help him just, hey, you're playing the X, you're on the outside, you're going to be running a lot of these routes, the go balls, and kind of that's his game. So I still have some hope. Again, I don't think he's going to come out here and put up 150 yards, but I think this could maybe – you don't want to lose Booty. He's been so good. But if you want to look at the positive, like if they could start building some momentum and then you can add this element to your offense in the second half of the year, like I think that could be some positive stuff with Kyle Williams there.
And the reality is, I don't think any of it's easy.
Yeah.
But if there is probably an easiest role to step into, it's that X spot. Z slot, you start getting into some more complex option routes, things like that. I think this is probably, at least schematically, at least in terms of the offense, I would think this is the easiest spot to step into.
Definitely. Anything else on the offensive side of the ball, or we can jump over to the defense here?
I just want to talk about Tonga again, man. Like that was freaking awesome. And they put him in motion. Like they didn't just line him up as a fullback. They lined him up as a tight end, motioned him into the backfield against a front that Tonga says after the game, they hadn't really prepared for. And he still picks his guy up and seals off the lane. I want to see more of that.
We got to get him a target. I don't know how.
All right,
but
before we get there, their red zone offense wasn't great again. They've kind of run hot and cold. They had, they started off weak, had a couple of good games. Now they're struggling in the red zone again. When you get down on the goal line, like Jack Westover is playing a little better here these last few weeks. I think he's starting to get the pace of fullback. Tonga has 80 pounds on him and is, for his size, pretty athletic, pretty nimble. He actually moves well on that play that they had him in on the offensive side of the ball. I'd love to see Tonga leading the way on the goal line and try to finish some of these runs down there. So I want to see that be a little more of a ring. I'm not saying like 20 plays a game, but like 4 to 5 plays a game. I would love to see them continue to build on that. And also, how nice is it this year? Remember last year, the player had to go to the coaching staff to be like, oh, by the way, play offense this year. They make Tonga game day captain. Vrabel goes through some old film, playing offense at BYU. We should try that.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think Westover has been playing better, and Vrabel's been pretty complimentary of him this morning as well. But it's just the size difference, as you pointed out, is insane. Yeah. You saw that on that play, like his ability just to move bodies. So maybe when it gets a little tighter in those situations, definitely just I'm never going to turn down Tonga playing more on offense. Like that would be awesome. And then maybe they can, get him vertical or get him a target somehow later in the year and kind of build off that. But that's the offense. Let's jump over to the defensive side of the football. But before we do that, I want to talk about our friends over at PrizePicks, because Barth, you and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right and simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. We got some Monday Night Football tonight. Cardinals, Cowboys, Jacoby Brissett, Patriots legend, I believe, is under center for the Cardinals, because who the hell knows what is going on with Kyler Murray out there. And then Dak Prescott, that's been a really fun offense in Dallas. George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Javonte Williams having a good bounce-back year. So lots of offensive options for you guys to put in your PrizePicks lineup tonight. So make sure you download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All over on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. All right. To the defense, first off, Barth, is there a bigger sign that the Patriots are back, that we have another gate on our hands? Clap gate?
All right, so do we want to do this now, or do we want to go through the game and then do it? Because this is going to be like the thing. This is going to be its own thing.
You want to end with it? Let's end with it. That's our clap. That's our clap gate tease right there. So, all right. Just with the defense, yeah, there you go. Fast start which was good, right? They went 3-and-out.
Yeah.
They got some positive momentum, but then they kind of slowed down as the game went on. Some troubles in the red zone, which has been a theme now. They are dead last in the league, 75%. They are allowing touchdowns or points in the red zone, so that's definitely got to improve. But then the run defense was also good, holding Bijan. So kind of an up-and-down performance. Drake London obviously gave them a lot of issues, but that's kind of what I saw on the defense side of the ball there.
Yeah, I Drake London was a problem. The Falcons did some good stuff to get mismatches on him. I thought Gonzalez, it was a competitive. Maybe Drake London slightly won that one. If any, it might have been a draw. I saw some people saying Gonzalez got cooked. That's not what happened.
That was back and forth for sure.
That was back and forth. Yeah. Now, Carlton Davis had trouble. Obviously, Marcus Jones had trouble. I don't know why we're doing this again with Marcus Jones. Like, I think Marcus Jones is a tremendous player. I really do. I hate to do this, but like 5'8's 5'8, 6'5 is 6'5. You just there's Marcus Jones plays much bigger than his size. He's a physical, competitive player. When the guy can just jump that high and go get the ball over him, it's going to happen. And look, the first one, the Falcons ran a motion and the route combination. They did a good job to force the Patriots to switch, and you tip your cap like those guys get paid to. The second one, it felt like the Patriots maybe
he just lined up on him.
Right. Well, I think they did that, and what I'm guessing here is Patriots like, all right, they're going to try to get us to switch Gonzalez onto London. So if we line, or they're going to try to get us to switch Jones onto London. So if we line Jones up on London from the beginning, then when they run the switch action, we're going to get somebody else on him. And then the Falcons probably saw that because I think if I remember correctly, Penix checked something at the line. They probably saw that and said, all right, let's run this where there's no switch action. And so, it's a chess game. That's football. That's what happens. I don't fault Marcus Jones too much for those. I think the Falcons exploited Patriots coverage tendencies. The Patriots did the same thing the Falcons with the Pop Douglas touchdown. But yeah, he gave them trouble. I thought they did a really good job on Bijan, and I do wonder if there was some pick your poison. And it was like if Drake London goes off, this was a Belichick thing going way back, right? Like, we're going to take away what you do best and not let you beat us with that. And I think that the Falcons are more talented than people give them credit for, right? You can take away Bijan Robinson. We're going to make you beat us throwing a Drake London. It doesn't sound great, but they maybe felt better with that than the alternative. And so it was rough to watch at times. But when you go back and look at it, it's another one of these games where they allowed less than 300 yards. They only allowed 3 touchdowns. I mean, it wasn't the worst defensive performance. It's another one that felt a lot worse as it was playing out than what you got. And there's definitely things to clean up. But I also think like the Falcons' talent showed through, I think, more than people were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, some of those Drake London catches were unbelievable. Like the third touchdown, the one-handed catch on Carlton Davis, like that was great. And even Bijan, they kind of bottled him up in the ground game, holding him under 50 yards again. But he made an impact kind of through the air, and he had some spectacular catches.
So I didn't think he made that much of an impact in the pass game. Like, he made some great catches. They had one that was just a busted coverage.
Yeah, right. That was one big one.
Outside of that, like, he made some great catches, but they kind of brought him down at the point of attack. They mostly kept him to catches at the flat and tackled him. I thought the way they tackled him was outstanding. He did not get a ton of extra yardage, break tackles, carry guys. That was a big difference because that's been a lot of the Falcons' offense is Bijan creating after contact. He didn't really do a lot of that yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, they were good. Only one explosive run and 8 catches for 50 yards. So he only averaged 6 yards a catch there. So they kind of limited him when he had the ball in his hands. But so there were some positives. They buckled down on that last drive when they needed a stop. Clapgate helped, which, again, we'll get to. I did think their man coverage, we've talked a lot about that, how they've struggled in that aspect. And now the Falcons entered the week like being the worst team against man coverage. But I thought, like, schematically, you saw some of that middle of the field help that we've been clamoring for. So that was a positive. And Gonzo, it was back-to-back. The one thing with Gonzo that's been really impressive with me the last 2 weeks has just been his kind of physicality as a tackler. Like, he really stood out in that aspect against Cleveland. And then this week he had 2 more run stops. Like, he's throwing his body around, and that was, a big thing that a lot of people picked on him for the draft and why he kind of fell down to 17th. But doesn't really feel like that's ever been a problem since he's gotten here. But, especially the last 2 weeks, that's kind of stood out for me. And the way they kind of play this run defense, funneling a lot of things to the outside, like you need your corners to be there and run support. And both him and Carlton Davis have been really good in that aspect as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love him playing this much off coverage. That's not a him thing. That's a coaching thing, a stylistic thing. I don't love him playing this much off coverage, but for what it is, I think he's playing it well. Mm-hmm. I just the usage to me is interesting.
The last thing I had on defense, what did you think of the pass rush? Because I know the pressure rate was pretty high, and Milton Williams had a great game, like 7 pressures. He's so fun to watch, just his motor that we talked about. And Barmore, I know, was quiet. He got double teamed a lot, and that kind of freed up Milton Williams. But they got to Penix once, and that was, early in the game with Caleb on Chase on there. I think they only hit him 4 times. And again, the pressure rate was high, but it felt like Penix had a lot of time. It took time to get there, holding the ball over 2.5 seconds on a lot of instances to kind of make some plays down the field. So where are you at with the pass rush? And could this, work in the trade deadline into here now? Like, could this still be an area they maybe look to explore at the deadline tomorrow?
I mean, they definitely need the depth. They need another edge, regardless of what it looks like. They're just thin. They need a body. So I still think it's an area that they should look to explore, should look to add. As for their performance, I thought they were better getting pressure with 4 in this game. I mean, it's still not great, but I thought they were better. The blitzes were interesting. They ran a few more of those corner blitzes in this game. They're not having a ton of success with those. So I wonder if that's an adjustment they look to make and try to send blitzes from elsewhere. But Zach Cord, he loves those corner blitzes. I thought the pass rate, I mean, it just runs hot and cold. Like, they get pressure. Their pressure numbers look good, but they come in bunches. They'll have like 1 or 2 drives where they're just all over the quarterback, and then they don't get any pressure for a quarter. So I don't know if that's the way they're doing their substitution patterns. I don't know if that's maybe, guys setting up rush moves and then eventually going to them and using them. Like, I don't know what that is, but it's just felt, it's felt hot and cold this year, I think.
Yeah. Their substitutions are interesting because they do it in duos.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. Like, they don't keep Milton Williams and Barmore. Like, they wouldn't keep one of them. Like, they won't substitute Barmore for Josh Farmer and keep Milton Williams. Like, they sub both Barmore and Milton Williams and bring in, Durden and Farmer, which is just kind of interesting. And I think Zach Core was asked about that last week, and he just kind of said, snap counts, that's how we do it. But it's just, that is something interesting they do.
Well, he said something else that answer I thought was interesting, and he mentioned guys getting used to rushing next to other guys. And I do wonder if there's some of us, they try to run line games, because we've seen Barmore and Milton Williams. Like, some of the combos they've used are like chemistry plays where they seem to kind of know where the other guy is and what the other guy's going to try to do. And I do wonder if we want to have these 2 guys on the field because we have certain combos we want to run with them.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And I'll point out, someone in our chat said, stop saying they keep doubling Barmore. That's disrespectful towards Williams. Yesterday, they actually did. I think Barmore was doubled 13 times. So other teams have doubled Milton Williams, and it's helped freed up Barmore. But, that's no disrespect. It's easier when, you have 2 good interior guys and Barmore's taking up 2 bodies. That just lets Milton Williams feast. And he took advantage of it because he had 7 pressures and was very disruptive. So I don't know if that was the Falcons' game plan, to put 2 bodies towards Barmore, but he was doubled, I believe it was 13 times. So that was what kind of just unfolded there. But anything else defensively, or should we start clapping it up here for Raheem Morris?
Let's get to this because this is ridiculous.
All right. So for anyone who doesn't know or hear what Raheem Morris, Falcons head coach, had to say, it was the intentional grounding late in the game where I think it was Kyle Pitts who was in motion and they snapped the ball when Penix clearly wasn't ready, and Milton Williams runs right in the backfield. And Penix kind of throws it on the ground, intentional grounding, pushes the Falcons back. They end up having a punt. Raheem Morris said someone was clapping on the Patriots. And the only person who seemed to be clapping was Jalen Hawkins, who was 15 yards away. And clearly, the Falcons motioned. He was clearly trying to clap to get Carlton Davis's attention. I don't know how the center would have heard that in a loud stadium on, I think it was 2nd down or 3rd down.
2nd down. And if he did, I don't know how he would have thought it was the quarterback.
Yeah. So I don't know what Raheem Morris is talking about, but the fact that the Patriots are getting accused of cheating again, like they could be back right now.
Yeah, really. So it's ludicrous on a number of levels. For one, and I say this as a college football fan, why are you using a clap count in the NFL? Why the hell are you using a clap count in the NFL? That is a college tactic. You should not be using a clap count in the NFL. Although, so Penix was the one who Raheem Morris mentioned that, like, and Raheem Morris, by the way, if you missed it like an hour ago, threw the players under the bus and said, well, hey, I'm just saying what the players told me. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. So that's good. But that's what you want to see from your head coach. Yeah. Penix was saying, like, when I clap, I want the ball, but they're not. And Greg Bedard tweeted this out. He did more breakdown of it. Like, they're not really using a clap count at points in that game. And thinking back to what we talked about last week, it would really explain the Falcons. Remember we were talking about the Falcons home road splits and like, why are these so extreme? What's the commonality? The quarterback, coach, and offensive line not being on the same page as to what the silent count mechanic is would explain a lot about the Falcons' inability to play on the road. It really would. So there's that whole thing. On top of that, yeah, the only one who claps is Jalen Hawkins. And you see that, hey, you see that all the time from defenders in the NFL.
And he's clearly looking at Carlton Davis. Like, his head is turned towards Carlton Davis.
Right.
Like
so even if that's what made the center snap the ball, I've never once in my life, and I've watched a few football games, I've never once in my life seen that called a defensive delay of game. Oddly enough, I did see a defensive delay of game on Saturday at the BC Notre Dame game. Oh, and yeah. I've seen a couple of them. That penalty is almost exclusively called on defensive linemen. Maybe a linebacker that's way up there. Because what it usually is, the defense cannot mimic the snap count. That's how the rule's written. And they can't do motions that would try to bait the other side into moving. So that's where, like, if you flinch, right? The defensive line can't flinch, just like the offensive line can't flinch. If you get as far as going offsides, it's an offsides, but it can, in rare instances, be called a defensive delay of game, which is 15-yard penalty, not 5. So usually that's like a defensive lineman yelling. If Raheem Morris and Michael Penix had said they were copying our snap count, but left out the clapping part, okay, well, maybe somebody yelled something. I don't know. That's not on the tape. And if that's what they meant and the clap thing was erroneous, well, too bad. You threw that out there. Like, the clapping thing isn't it. So even if it was Hawkins, that's not a reason for the center to snap the ball, and that has never risen to the level of a penalty. Well, the Patriots knew and they were cheating. If that was some edge they thought they were going to get, that's a really weird way to do it, because it's a blatant penalty. If the refs look at that and say he's mimicking the snap count, and if they looked at it and said, hey, they're using a clap count, if you get a chance, maybe try to clap, and Jalen Hawkins did the clap towards Carlton Davis as an excuse to do it so you didn't get penalized, just like Raheem Morris said, it's maybe good situational football. So I think the Falcons kind of exposed themselves for not knowing what's going on offense. Credit to Gillette Stadium crowd. I actually felt the building shaking a little bit at that point. Haven't felt that in a few years, so that was cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was getting loud there. This whole thing's ridiculous.
Best crowd in a couple of years, I would say.
This is one of the most ridiculous accusations that we've heard, because there's just, even if, okay, Jalen Hawkins was clapping and it threw off your center, that's still on the center. We're talking about a guy that's 5 yards that way instead of 12 yards that way, the other way. He should be able to figure that out. And also, if you're on a clap count, why is the right guard looking backwards at the quarterback, which is the whole reason Milton Williams got through clean in the first place and forced the intentional grounding? So I don't even know that they were using a clap count, which they shouldn't have been. And if they weren't, I don't know why they were saying they were. And none of it, like, it just feels like they're scrambling and they're pissed they lost a game they probably should have won. And Raheem Morris blamed the players blaming the Patriots. We'll see if the players start blaming Raheem Morris. Like, it's a mess.
Oh, Falcons. Such a Falcons move. Were you surprised at all that they they punted after that, because I was up there, I was
So
writing, and I wrote like after they throw an incompletion on third down, they kept the offense on the field on fourth, and then I was like, oh wait, no, they're bringing the punt out, because I know it was 4th and 20, but they were near midfield. It was 2:03, so whatever play was going to take them on the opposite side of the 2-minute warning, and they only had 2 timeouts left. So I was a little surprised that they honestly punted there.
So I have a little bit of a hot take on this, and maybe I'm being too galaxy brain here. So I didn't like the punt. I know it's 4th and 20, but if you're going to run a play, like you could maybe hunt a penalty or who knows. You had the momentum. Maybe this is me being too galaxy brain. What Coach Barth would have done on the sideline.
This is going to be good. I can tell.
What if, and let me just approach this with an open mind. What if they spiked the ball? 4th and 20, walked up, clocked it. So here's what would have happened. Patriots would have gotten the ball back at midfield, right? So still not in field goal range. 1 first down, no matter where the Patriots are on the field. 1 first down, that game's over. Once you give the ball back to them, 1 first down, that's it. You're not getting it back. If you spike and the Falcons had already used 1 timeout. They only had 2 left. That's part of this. If the Falcons had spiked the ball, there was 2:04 left, I think, when they snapped that. Spike takes 3 seconds, so you go down to 2:01. The Patriots first down play, now that's the 2-minute warning. Then you use your second timeout. Then you use the third timeout. So whether the Patriots go 3 and out, back at their own 20, or at the 50, you are giving up some field position. But in that instance, Brian, if you're the Falcons, would you rather have 40 seconds or 40 yards? What would you rather have?
I honestly, I thought, like, I was thinking live, like, could they do some punts that would only take like 2, like, I don't know. I was kind of on your wavelength, like
this is what I'm thinking. Like,
and look,
it's a little tongue in cheek. Now, look, I think they would have been better off. You probably weren't going to say the 2-minute warning. Run a real play.
Yeah.
Either you hit a deep, like Drake London's going off, Christian Gonzalez is on the sideline. Either throw one up to him. Maybe he makes an acrobatic play. Maybe you get a pass interference. Who the hell knows? Or like, just don't punt it. Just don't give it back because you're not going to get the ball back. The clocking thing's a little, I'm being a little aggressive there, but
the Patriots probably, if you just spike it and give the Patriots the ball back there, like the Patriots, they could have only got like 5 yards and it would have been a long field goal, but they could have been in field goal range. And then you need a touchdown.
No, it would have been, here's the thing though. If they miss that, are they going to kick that long field goal? Cause let's say they get 5 yards. So the ball was
you get the ball back where you spike it. The ball was at the 42. So
right.
It would be like a 54 yarder at that point. Right.
50. Right. But now if the Patriots miss the field goal, you get the ball at the spot of the hold.
Yeah.
So if the Patriots miss that field goal
where you spiked it
after 3 stoppages, you're going to get, now you only need 1 or 2 first downs and you're in field goal range to win the game. So like, again, there is the thing where, okay, well, you punt it, you get the stop, you get the ball back, you're going to get much better field position than maybe you otherwise would. Because like if the Patriots get no yards, they punt it from around the 50, they might just boom that for a touchback, right? And say, go 80 yards, have fun. But the punt was ridiculous. They should not have punted that. That was a bad decision. But I stand by. If they clock it, Patriots run the first play, it stops the clock at 1:58. You have 2 more timeouts. If you actually get the stop, you're going to get the ball with like probably more than a minute and a half left. You're not going to have any timeouts. More than a minute and a half left. And all you need is a field goal. That's very doable. Punting the ball, they gained 40 yards, but they lost 40 seconds. I'd much rather have that 40 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the Patriots offense wasn't, lighting it up in the second half there, but I would probably, with the way Drake London was playing, especially, I probably would have rather put the game in, Drake London's hands. And
I ultimately would go for it. I would have thrown a deep ball to Drake London and try to draw a penalty. Well, try to like get him the ball, but at the very least, you never know on these deep balls drop. Like, the refs, to their credit, we're letting them play.
Especially with Gonzo out. Like,
especially with Gonzo out, like,
because like Charles Woods came in for him, and if you could have got, Charles Woods isn't the tallest guy, and if you could have got Drake London on him, like a jump ball, like I think that would have been better than just punting the ball away there. So
yeah,
kind of a weird decision, I thought.
But also, again, I'll just say it because it's a weird fluky thing. I actually think that you could make the argument that the Falcons would have been better off spiking the ball on 4th and 20 than they were punting.
Yeah. No, I honestly was trying to think of some way up there that they could get the ball, that they could stop the clock without the 2-minute warning.
That's how you would do it.
That would be probably the only.
Or kneel it. I don't know which one's quicker, but like spike it or kneel, whatever you think is quicker. Do one of those. What did you think I was going to say when I set that up?
I honestly had no idea where you were going to go with that, the Galaxy brain, but
well,
I liked it. I liked the thought. Speaking of punts, anything just to wrap up this recap? Just anything on special teams? I mean, it was Parker Romo missing, who was here all summer. A lot of people wanted to keep. We had good numbers this summer, missing the extra point, and then Borregales, continuing to be perfect. Still hasn't missed a kick since week 2. Knock on wood. We don't want to jinx him, but that just feels like everything's falling their way kind of right now, and that was another example of that.
Yeah, I kept the right kicker. Who would have thought it? Bryce Baringer. So they have the first drive to try to run the clock out, failed. Bryce Baringer, monster kick. Monster kick. Great to see him bounce back after the shank last week. I'll write that one off. I'll say he's still on a heater.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they went with Chisholm and Dearness Johnson as kick returners. Chisholm handled all that. Got past the 30 twice. One was called back for a hold. So I think that's just kind of the reality. If you're not going to have Travion Henderson and Antonio Gibson back there, these explosive guys, like, just make good decisions. Chisholm had a couple of good touchbacks that were like close right on the goal line and got past the 30 once or twice. So
meanwhile, speaking of the kick return thing, scored a touchdown yesterday. Was not a kick return, but scored a touchdown.
Who was that?
Gunnar Olszewski.
Oh, I did see that. Gunnar.
He actually had a good kick return game. He had another solid kick return game, 3 for 80 yards.
All right, so that's perfect into our last topic we're going to cover here. Transition.
I was just going to say this is what I'm doing if I run the team. I'm spiking the ball on 4th and 20 down 1 at midfield, and I'm trading for Gunnar Olszewski. That's what my team's doing. Trade
deadline just under 24 hours away here at Barth. Any moves you want to make? We saw Philly trade for Jalen Phillips. That was someone we had some interest in on the edge. It was always going to be tough with him being in Miami, but he goes for a 3rd-round pick to Philly, so that's kind of the first shoe to fall here. But anything you're specifically looking at for this Patriots team, kick returner, beyond kick returner, before the 4:00 deadline tomorrow?
I mean, they definitely just need depth. I do want, they need edge depth. They probably need another running back if they're not, going to trust Ernest Johnson. Or we'll see, I guess, when Ramondre gets back. I will probably get an update on him on Wednesday. We'll see if he's practicing or not. If Jalen Phillips going to Philly. So I don't know if Philly was trying to bolster their rotation, like add a body or upgrade it. There was some stuff from ESPN that Azeez Ojulari was maybe going to be available. Like, he's not Jalen Phillips, and people was all right. Well, you're getting the cast off. They traded for the better guy, and then you're getting, but like Azeez Ojulari would still be good. Still take that. I don't think they needed to give up a 3rd for Jalen Phillips. So if the Eagles now finally have an extra guy on the edge, I would absolutely consider being in the market for that guy. Safety, I think, is still in need depth wise. Really, really those spots, and then the kick return thing. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a pipe dream for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably going to be just a low-key veteran addition or two, and I agree with most of those positions you said. The Bengals, I'm not expecting – there's never any big fireworks at the NFL trade deadline, but not expecting anything for the Pats. The Bengals still want a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson, which is crazy, and then it doesn't sound like A.J. Brown's going to move. Those are off-season moves, so I wouldn't expect anything huge. Maybe just some minor additions, veteran additions. Does the Booty injury change your mind about wide receiver at all? It doesn't sound like this is going to be a long-term thing with Booty, but we know these hamstring injuries can be a little bit funky. Does it change your mind at all about trading for a guy? Or, we talked a lot about Kyle Williams earlier. Are we just throwing Kyle Williams out there and see what we got?
Yeah, I really wish we got a game to see Kyle Williams before they had to answer this.
Yeah,
I would say no. I don't feel like they need a wide receiver. If Booty's it kind of lines up well for Booty here if it is a short-term injury, because they're going to play 2 games in 4 days and then 1 game in 10 days. So you don't want him to miss Tampa. They could use him against Tampa. But if he misses Tampa, he gets an extra 4 days of rest, plays against the Jets on Thursday night. and then gets another extra 3 days off before they have to play after the mini bye after the Thursday game. So he has, there's time where he doesn't really need to stress it. If it is, I think he posted somewhere, right? The update
on his Discord.
Is that real? So I'm going to have to be an old man here. I didn't recognize that social media platform.
I don't even know how to check Discord to see if it is real. I know he's very active on like video games and Discord online. So it would be something that he would do. But I wasn't able to fact check it.
Well, let me put it this way. If it is a low grade injury, regardless of what was posted on Discord or not, if it is a low grade injury and you feel like he can be back, within 2 weeks, I don't think you need to trade for somebody. If it's more like the Gonzalez injury and, you're looking at a month and a half, then you maybe want to go get somebody.
Mm-hmm. And you would like to think that maybe you could beat the Jets without Kayshon Boutte, right? So if you hold him out on that and then you give him the full 2 weeks maybe to heal up. So, but I'm with you. I'm excited to see Kyle Williams in a bigger role. So we'll see what that looks like going forward. But any closing thoughts on anything, or we can get on out of here?
I think that is pretty much it.
All right. So Patriots 7-2, beating the Atlanta Falcons 24-23 yesterday. Now they're going down to Tampa, back to the road to take on Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, coming off a bye. So we'll be back to preview that one later this week, I believe. Also, we're doing a crossover this week with Mike and Taylor.
That's the plan.
And if anything big happens tomorrow with the trade deadline, we will pop on quick. So make sure you guys are locked on to Patriots Press Pass throughout the week for everything. Like and subscribe to the channel. You can also turn on your notifications so you know if we're going to go live for any emergency pods or just any regularly scheduled pods as well. And if you are listening to audio only, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you may be listening. We would appreciate that. Make sure you're also following Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 95thesportshub.com for his Patriots coverage there. And you can follow me on Twitter at @IamBrianHines and head over to PatsPulpit.com for all of our Patriots coverage online there as well. So thanks everyone for jumping on with us tonight, and we will see you guys later this week.